Hey, what's up, Travel Chronicles? We'll call this the Halftime Chronicles from the recent Super Bowl. Just kind of documenting some feelings, some thoughts here. So this is the 2026 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 60. Not a very interesting game for one. It was New England and Seattle. Two teams had pretty low odds coming into the season, and they got their way there. Seattle legitimately, they were hands down probably the best team in the NFC. Completely deserved it. New England, on the other hand, just had super fortunate schedule. I think 391 was the team average in winning percentage of the teams that they played. And in the playoffs, they played a team that didn't have an offensive line. Then the next team, the quarterback turned the ball over 6 times or something, like obscene, like 4 interceptions in the first half. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then in the championship game, the team won the previous week. The quarterback broke his ankle or foot on the next to last play of the game, and then he's out for the championship game. So they went to a backup quarterback. They actually still had a chance to, probably win that game, and they, the coach blew it, but. They got to the Super Bowl that way, and then they got kind of embarrassed. So that was the game. Not that exciting. Nothing but field goals for the first 3 quarters, and it was all one team. But they were just so dominant defensively. It's like we don't have to try to score a touchdown. Their kicker actually outscored the entire New England offense. So not a great game. On top of that, you had probably. I don't want to say it's the worst halftime performance ever, right? Because I haven't watched the whole thing. I can't make it more than like a minute in, and it's just like I don't want to watch this. And I keep looking for somebody to put one out there that has the English translation on it, because this was a halftime that was done by Bad Bunny, who is Puerto Rican, so technically American, right? But he only does his songs in Spanish. He doesn't have any English music. And the Super Bowl is the largest, primetime viewing event in America, in all of America, not just the Spanish-speaking parts of America, in the English-speaking parts as well. And I believe, and you say that, well, football is trying to incorporate a global audience. Like on a global basis, I think 18% of the world's population speaks Spanish. So what's the benefit here? Most people speak English, even in foreign countries. Like if you go to Europe and stuff, you can find somebody that can speak English. So English music kind of makes more sense, for a spectacle like this. But it was does that mean it's more political based? Was this a political, kind of finger up in the air to the rest of the country? I don't know, right? But you had an alternative at the same time. You had this all-American halftime that was put on by Turning Point USA, which I'm kind of indifferent about. I've heard some stuff come out of them, and it's like, all right, Charlie Kirk, who got assassinated last year, his standpoint, or the way he was coming at it, Christian based, trying to get people, to that side, would go there, argue with people, kind of point out, flaws, or, really break down arguments instead of just, telling people they're wrong and idiots, which is good. That's good. I think, obviously the organization, he was the one who was spearheading the organization, and now it's fallen to somebody else. And sometimes when that happens, those people don't have the same vision, somebody else. They like what the other person did. They like all the benefits of what somebody else was doing. But, that person was, getting rich because of their vision and what they were able to do. They could see the whole thing in front of them. And other people are just trying to fill in and, kind of copy what he was doing under the same name, but it's not quite the same. So, I'm not affiliated with Turning Point. I'm not a advocate for Turning Point necessarily, but I'm not against Turning Point. I'm definitely for Jesus. I don't know how much Jesus is involved in their actual stuff, but They had an alternative halftime, and it was streamed on, I don't know, like 8 different things. Now, YouTube is what most people go by, and it had I think, like a number of around like 5.1 million. And then if you took all the other things and added them together, you're up over 6 million people, streaming this alternative halftime thing at one time. And it's, now Wednesday of the following week, and the numbers are in, the more official numbers. And the halftime show, I think, was 128 million or something. So it was a little lower than what Kendrick said. Like, people were coming out, it's like, it was 135 million people, it was 140 million people, like, right after the thing. It's like, you have no clue what it was, right? When you're shooting off the mouth, you have no clue. The NBC released the numbers, yesterday. I think it was 128 million. So, obviously it's the most viewed thing of the year, but this is lower by about 5 million people than what it was last year. Take that for what it's worth. People that were saying 135 million, and then you had 5 million people. It was like on YouTube, like the YouTube numbers, like it's hard to fake. Like even if you had all your devices on it, and it's like, okay, maybe you got like 4 or 5 devices, but you need, 1 million people still watching it with all their devices on. It's like, my wife and I watched it on TV at home as on a guest login on YouTube, so kind of it is what it is, but that's what we did. Now, it's different because, most likely it was pre-recorded. There was no indication that this was a live event. And the way that people were changing on stage, like, yeah, okay, it's definitely not live, right? Because it's boom, all right, next person, boom, next person. And that's fine. Here's people singing their songs, kind of out there in front of another small group wherever they recorded it. It was all right. Like I'm not a massive country music fan either, which is probably like a little bit ironic. Like I did like the Kendrick Lamar halftime from last year. I thought it was really good. It was really relevant because he was the artist of the year, and so was Bad Bunny. He was artist of the year, even though his music's not in English. Like I said, there's only 18% of the world population. He's the most popular person in the whole world with the most streams. Whatever. I think that might have been manipulated. Or people are just listening to it because other people are listening to it. Nobody wants to stand up and say, hey, the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. Like, this music's not that good. And that's the curious thing about the halftime for me, right? Is how many people, if you gave them truth serum, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that's like, oh man, Bad Bunny was so good. Like, the vibes were really good. I didn't understand a word he was saying while he was up there singing, but man, the vibes. And it's like, if I can't understand the lyrics of what somebody's saying, like, that really takes away from the music. It really takes away from the essence of the music. And that's one of the reasons, like, Kendrick Lamar's was so good, because, like, there's a lot of stuff in his lyrics that has, like, multiple levels of what it means. Plus his show and the way that things were positioned and what he was doing stuff on, like, really meant something. Now, I understand, like, that the Bad Bunny stuff was, like, representing Puerto Rico, and, this is what it looks like on Puerto Rico. And, the minute or so that I watched, and I think I seen him setting up for it. I can't remember if that was it or part of the. No, I think I seen part of the setup. It was, people running out in costume as, grass or weeds or sugar cane, something, right? And it was, neat and, probably well executed from that standpoint. But like, all these people are saying, like, oh man, the vibes and stuff. Like, you see videos of people inside the stadium, it's like they're not into this at all. Like, not at all, right? And these are people that paid like a lot of money to be there, want to see something, kind of relevant, that's at least kind of hit the midpoint of the audience. And like, this was way skewed to one side of an audience, and it's not even really representative of NFL players either, because these Latin players, you know, if you want to include, you know, all the Latin players, it's like 40 out of 1,600 or something. It's like a low number, like 4% or so. So you're not even hitting a decent percentage of your NFL population. Wow. Like it didn't make any sense to me. You know, it's like, oh well, he's super popular and stuff. Okay, is he good? And it's like, well, if you really listen to it, it's like not really. You know, and it's like, okay, it's fast, it's you know, jumpy kind of stuff, but you know, think of foreign music that kind of hit, right? La Bamba, that was a, you know, pretty big hit. No English. Gangnam Style, you know, you bring that guy out. Like, he got a set list, you know, like I could have stomached that. Like, I could have watched that because, like, I like that song. Like, and there's some English words in it, but like I didn't get the Bad Bunny stuff. And there's a lot of people like, oh man, this was so great, and it's like, was it? Like, I won't give you a little truth serum, and then you tell me what you really thought of it, because I don't think people are being honest about what they thought. But there's one other piece to this, and that is I have not seen like somebody break it down, because you can do this on YouTube. Like, if you do fair use, or, you know, flip the video or something like that, it's like, all right, here's what he actually said, and just here's the lyrics, because there's a congressman that came out with like, here's what he said, and like laid it out, or here's the lyrics to the song, and he needs to be held accountable to the FCC because this is, you know, vulgar lyrics that weren't beeped out. And, you know, if it was an English artist singing this, you know, there'd be fines all over the place. Like, this is one of the most controversial parts of that halftime, is if it was in English, like, you'd be getting fined like crazy, or you wouldn't have heard any of the words because it was just been beep, you know, blank, 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 you know, just beeped out most of it. That's the part that was like, yeah, vibes. It's like, that's cool. Did you look up what the lyrics were to some of these songs? Because they, from my understanding, like, they are not good. Like, this is not stuff that you would want to listen with in front of your family, especially if you have like younger kids or, you know, daughters. So, you know, but it's, you know, it's kind of whatever. You know, it's mostly money. You know, that they're doing it for political agendas, and I think it was a massive misstep by the NFL, because they cracked the door open, and now Turning Point is saying, hey, we're gonna do this again. And you want to talk about numbers? You know, 5.1 million YouTube numbers, like that's a legit number. You know, the 128 million people watching it. What are they watching? It wasn't on. I don't know how real that number is, but 5.1 is hard to fake on YouTube, because it's like, right now, this is what's happening. Overall, it's the 4th highest streamed thing ever. Now, yeah, they had 6 months to promote it, but yeah, you are competing with the Super Bowl. The only other time this has really happened where it was like, you know, kind of a slap in the face to the Super Bowl was when In Living Color did their own halftime thing right opposite, and they kind of promoted it. It's like, hey, we're gonna have our own thing, come over here at halftime and watch us, don't watch the halftime thing because it's boring and dumb. And they got 22 million viewers on I think it was Fox at the time, and that was kind of a wake-up call. And then, like, right after that, it's like, our halftime act is Michael Jackson, so you're gonna want to watch that. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool, we should watch that. And that's what it's kind of been. It's just been kind of riding that wave for the last 32 years or so, or 33 years, and now they got slapped in the face a little bit again, because, right, that's 5 million viewers that just, you know, either went over here or pulled it up. And it's a YouTube thing, so you could watch it anytime if you wanted to. It's like, but you know, don't you want to watch the live Super Bowl halftime thing? And it's like, not really, because I don't understand. You know, and there's enough people that were like, I don't get this, that they just turned the thing. And if, you know, Turning Point can, you know, they got their foot in the door. Just let them get their foot in the door. And now if they can make it a thing where it's like, hey, we're going to do another concert with these artists, it is going to be live. And if you know, we'll throw the the football game up on the screen here. If you want to come here and watch, you know, buy tickets to it, and we're going to stream it on YouTube because, you know, why not? You know, tickets are, you know, nothing or whatever, because, you know, it's mostly for, you know, the streaming and the artist recognition. Like, you're going to have people sign up to do that. Like, you're going to have people sign up to do that. And if now you've got a whole year to promote it, you know, not just 4 months that you were promoting it whenever they came out with Bad Bunny being the Super Bowl act, you know, because that was kind of off-putting. But now you can really put together, you know, artists. Now, will they be blackballed from the Super Bowl? You know, maybe. You know, or is there people that would like never have an opportunity to play at the Super Bowl, like a Zach Bryan or something like that? Although my understanding has kind of a feud with Kid Rock, so as associated with Kid Rock, maybe he doesn't want to do it. I don't know. You know, I think there's a certain group of artists that would never get a shot at the Super Bowl, and, you know, this would be as close as they could get. It's not a horrible option, and plus the way that the Super Bowl has trended recently, you know, there's a certain audience that's not being represented. And if they're like, you know, I'm tired of this stuff, I'm going to go watch the other thing, I want to see what the other thing is, then they're going to go that route. And they may be able to make money out of it. This was the 4th highest rated YouTube live stream ever. You know, and we're in 2026. YouTube's been around for a little over 20 years, you know, legitimately. But, you know, you're talking about the 4th highest event ever, and you get, you know, a whole nother year to promote it and maybe pull in some better artists and do some stuff. Yeah, you might be able to get 10 million next year. And it's like, well, that's only 10 million. That's a lot, right? If you're doing something that's the biggest that's ever been done. So, and YouTube has a deal with the NFL. So, like, they may come in there and, you know, cut that wire too. So, it'll be interesting. I think this was a major misstep by the NFL, by Rock Nation, by all those groups. And we'll see how it plays out. But that's just my 2 cents right now. In the immediate aftermath. And that's all I got. All right, well, good luck. Be COVID free and enjoy halftime next year. Or rewatching it. Hopefully somebody comes out with an English translation of that halftime. That's a moneymaker on YouTube if somebody makes that video. Like, there are millions of hits, like right off the bat. I'm telling you. All right, later.